So I'm going to be talking about the current state of App Store optimization, what's going on, and where that's heading for 2023. Obviously, there's a lot of new features that have come out, and this isn't so much what those features are and how to technically execute them. It's more about what remains the same from this evolution of the ecosystem and the strategies that you need to keep in place for 2023. So a little bit about me. My name is David Quinn. I'm the VP of Strategy and Partnerships at Gummicube. Joined in 2011, helped co-found Gummicube back then. First integrated ASO company in North America. ASO didn't really exist until then. So we built the tech and we have the services to supplement that. I myself have 18 years of experience in the mobile space, back in the days of flip phones and ringtones and all that stuff, evolving into App Store optimization, and then this next evolution of ASO. So for an overview of what we'll be looking at, the ASO strategies have evolved, but the foundational aspects have not changed in that way. So we want to talk about what to keep and what these new considerations are, and then what it means for App Store optimization in 2023, and then the must-have strategies for each of those components of ASO. So if you think about ASO for the App Store and the Play Store, there's foundational elements, your metadata, creative optimization, paid, Apple Search Ads, Google Ads, that sort of thing. And Google also has had custom store listings. Those foundational elements still need to be your base of what you're doing. And then building on it are these new capabilities. And they're not new for 2023 coming out. They've been around late 2021, early 2022, more adoption. But as more people start adopting them and getting more strategic with them, and the evolution of the stores that you think about, it's not just about finding one audience and giving them one set of creatives or one experience. It's about finding your audiences with custom product pages, getting lapsed users, engaging current users as well. And that's what these in-app events and CPPs and everything they're building, live ops for Google Play, are all about. So what does it mean for ASO? How do these updates affect the stores and the approaches that you take? So like I mentioned, the fundamentals are still key. The new features have not replaced basic foundational ASO. You still need to have that in there. Otherwise, everything you build on top of it isn't going to work. But these added layers of personalized engagement are going to be really key. Apps have features. These features have users. These users are looking for them. They have different intentions. Even if they're looking for the same thing, they might be converting on different creatives and design styles. These tools let you focus on that. And just like apps themselves need to optimize towards loyalty, engagement, and personalization, Apple and Google are doing the same thing. So they wouldn't build all of these tools for in-app events for re-engagement. Apple introduced re-download metrics at the same time that they launched these features. So they're gearing towards that if it was all about brand search. So there's 35 separate custom product pages. You can do 50 custom store listings on Google. So it's a huge expansion for this purpose. So based on all that, what is critical to do now and into 2023, and what do you avoid? So like I've been saying, fundamental data and strategy concepts, marrying the paid and organic approaches that you have. It's not just running paid and doing organic. How do you think about it? It's more of a philosophy of how to approach ASO and doing it the right way. Then we can build on top of that all of these things. The search ads with the new placements, custom pages, product page optimization, in-app events, and then Google with live ops having the analogous features that go into that. And what do we do with these multiple aspects of ASO? ASO isn't just one part of this. This is all ASO. And after we understand the fundamentals, we need to see what to do and what to avoid. So strategizing with keyword optimization. ASO is not SEO. There aren't just a small group of keywords that you need to optimize towards. Look at ASO as more of an e-commerce philosophy where you have core terms that need positive signals from related merchandise terms. And that personalization features that are being added are moving ASO more in that direction than ever before. So engage these audience segments. That's what this is all about. What is their journey to finding your app? What is their intent? What is their install state? These are things that weren't possible before, but now we can get into that. So building on all of this research, using the right data to do that research is the most important basic part, always has been, it's going to be in 2023. So true ASO requiring data from the app stores. If you're using the wrong data for the wrong audience, then it's going to be fundamentally doomed from the start. The ASO software that you use should show you what is valuable and not just what everyone else is bidding on. So these are some of the things that you should avoid looking at. Web search data, popularity, difficulty, download estimates. Those don't really funnel into your ASO. And here's a bit about why. So the web, the web data approaches are SEO strategies, and ASO is not SEO. Only about 20% of that data overlaps. So if you fixate on SEO data itself, you're going to get the wrong keyword volumes for what people are looking at in the store. And if you build on top of that for re-engagement, it's definitely not going to work. So avoid looking at just a few keywords, tweaking a few of them at a time. You need to understand the user behaviors of the mobile app store, not the web. So popularity is another one. Paid search and ASO are different too. Popularity scores are about where do you advertise? What are people bidding on? Organic indexation takes time, and the functional and feature-based terms that have high volume, that should encompass about 50 to 60% of what you're ranking for organically to supplement everything. That's going to be very different when you're looking at what people are bidding on. So if your strategy is built on the data from the wrong places, this is really based on what people are bidding on and not so much what is popular. Like, I'm wearing Reebok pumps, which I think are pretty cool. But I've heard from Gen Z that those are dad shoes and not very cool. So if I'm thinking of what I want to bid on and I'm competing with what everyone else around my demographic is bidding on, that's not indicative of what's actually popular. So look out for what people are bidding on versus what people are searching for. Difficulty is another one. Is difficulty even relevant? So you can have the same keyword and it has a difficulty score, but what makes a keyword difficult to rank on is its relevancy. So when you're thinking about difficulty scores, it's just assuming that if there's more apps bidding on it or competing for it, it's going to be more difficult, but it's really about relevancy. And if you're more relevant, it's easier for your app to rank. It's going to be less difficult in that sense. So you need to build relevancy for these high volume terms and incorporate related terms, which makes it less difficult over time. The last piece for this one, when desirability overshadows your accuracy, if you're using web search data and ASA data to determine volume, which pump example is not accurate, this impressions and downloads per keyword doesn't exist from Apple and Google. And if you're using this and tracking which keywords you're using in your tool to determine downloads per keyword, the whole thing is built fundamentally from estimates of estimates and is going to misguide your strategy. So build with the right materials. You need to use the philosophies of doing e-commerce to support core keywords, not just picking a handful of keywords like you would do in SEO. The difficulty scores aren't useful insights. Popularity is what people are bidding on and not what people are actually searching for. And paid search is great, but it becomes better when you align it with ASO and the data that comes back from ASO. Okay, so none of that is really new for 2023. It's where you need to start from and build your ASO strategy from. This is also not something that's brand new for 2023, but it's going to become more important than ever. Doing your paid and organic correctly, just like you do your data research correctly. So paid search supports ASO, meaning the right ASO software shows you which keywords have organic search volume, and you get a better picture of how the App Store is merchandising you, not just on a few keywords, but all of the keywords that are related to that you can help build up that core term for. Otherwise, if you're not doing it, then you're going to lose out on that core term, and you can be bidding and bidding on it, and it's just that one term. It's not going anywhere. It's because you're not taking this approach where you're integrating your paid with your organic. So the paid search alone is also not ASO. ASA is not ASO. When you're doing it correctly, the data from Apple Search Ads and Google Ads campaigns can give you valuable insights. But if you're not using them to support each other, it's not going to accomplish the objective you have. All right, so the new stuff. That's all the old stuff. This is the new stuff. So the new placements on Apple Search Ads. We've had the search results, we've had the search tab, and now we have the Today tab and the product page. There's all these different placements. This is what's changing the ecosystem. People can see your app in different ways. So these new placements means the users experience a different journey. So we can't just take the default screenshot set, for example, and put them in these different places without thinking about where these users are coming from, what they might have been looking for when they got here or not looking for when they got here, and what can we do to change our presentation in the store. There's all these different possibilities now. So you can use CPPs for Today tab, you can use them for search results, and then the search tab and product page, those are just going to show you the basic sort of icon look. So think about where they're coming from and differentiate your pages for their experience so that you can engage them or re-engage them.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What do you think about Today tab?
It's a little pricey. Yeah, so this one, yeah, the volume is there, competitive to bid on, but really I think the way that they put it together, where these screenshot sets slowly scroll, it makes users more interested to tap to see what it's all about without that intent of downloading. So this is good for brand awareness, for example, and getting it out there, just like the search tab was and still is. But the conversion rates are going to be different. Typically, they're a lot more pricey. But if that's what you're going for that strategy, then that's good. I have a whole other slide on exactly that, yeah. But yeah, case in point, Today tab is not search results. You can make a customized CPP for it. And if you just say, I had a CPP, it was working pretty well in another campaign I did, let's throw that up on the Today tab. Different journey, catch all creatives, will catch none. So also think about your objectives for Apple Search Ads with these new placements and also the long-standing placements. What is your primary objective of running search ads? Are you calling it UA, running it and saying, there you go? It's so much more than that. Is it made to support your organic base? Are you looking at the data that comes back to give you insights on what your share of voice is among your competitors, how your keywords rank? Are you looking for down funnel performance? Are you looking at attribution and seeing where those users go? Are you segmenting them with these new CPPs and focusing on converting them specifically? Are you using it to facilitate A/B testing? So that's another piece of it. There's also PPO, but kind of evolving out of creative set testing with search ads. A/B testing via CPP was sort of a natural evolution. And I have a slide on PPO, but there's some limitations, I'll say. How many people have run a PPO test before? And you're like, where's my Google Play experiment data? Yeah, so a lot of people that we've seen, and we do this too, use CPPs for A/B testing, but you have to know what that is and what that isn't when you're doing it. PPO is frustrating because of the data, but still very useful if it's done successfully. And then are you doing increasing overall awareness? And that's going to be the Today tab, search tab. So your strategy, your CPI goals, your performance all depends on what your objectives are and where you're running it. Personalize your placements. That's no catch-alls. That's sort of the engagement and personalization of 2023. So CPPs and personalization for search ads. Using the right ASO software, you can find who your keyword audiences are. You can also take those not just from organics to see where am I ranking well, where am I appearing that has high search volume, but also think about your engagement status, group those into ad groups and cater to each of them. Take a little water. There we go. So ASA is going to continue running your default set. This is very useful for A/B testing. Kind of frustrating in the same way because you want to just change your CPPs to focus on this one set, and Apple just kind of runs the default set along with it. But typically the algorithm is going to find out which one performs better, and then it's going to serve that one more. But this way you get an apples to apples look at how much better that one's converting, what your CPA is. And you'll need to look at not just the conversion rate, because that's like the tap through rate to the conversion rate, and it kind of make it confusing, but what's your CPA when you're running these? When you're A/B testing with CPPs, you should also know what that means. So I mentioned coming out of the creative set testing with Apple search ads, kind of into PPO, and also facilitating with CPP. You're still running it in search ads. You can make kind of a proxy for organic, but it's still just going to be a proxy. So you'll need to still run pre and post testing and prove that it actually works, because these users are still coming in from search ads. You want to get the right view to the right user at the right time. That's the whole evolution of the store, and adding all these 35 pages, 50 pages, both platforms. This is another one, don't dilute your data. This could lead to, down the line in 2023, especially failure. So if you have some CPPs lying around and you have similar markets externally and on search ads internally, and you want to run them to the same source, you're not going to be able to granularly get that data. It's going to obscure your performance metrics. So make sure you have a custom product page for each of the markets that you're doing in. You can filter it out in App Analytics, but this way you get clean data that you can compare apples to apples. And then for external campaigns too. So there's obviously Apple search ads where you can run custom product pages. They added Facebook back in September. You can put a QR code tied to a CPP. If you're using a URL like an email blast or something like that, or somewhere on your website, mobile website and your smart banners, things like that, you can use a CPP and should use a CPP because they're all coming from different areas. And that data is extremely valuable so that you can see how those users coming from that funnel convert from where they were. So this is another one, unlike ASA CPP, there's no control group unless you make one. So what that means is that you'll need to create a standard custom product page, and then from there you can run half of your traffic to each one, and you can see how it actually converts. Because you might have a situation where the CPP on a campaign that you're running externally, on an email blast or something like that, seems to be converting higher than your web referred traffic or app referred traffic, whatever it might be. But that's all of that traffic, including the CPP that you're running. So you're not really looking at the correct data. And like I spent 5 slides on correct data, it's the correct way to do this. So make sure you're doing that. It also depends on the traffic volume that you have. So if you don't have enough traffic volume to facilitate that, make sure that you have enough to do it. Otherwise, the data won't show up. You can also use the creative sets that are working well from Facebook and start with that. And then from there, test it out in the CPP. It's a different experience, but if you can make that funnel cohesive, that typically works best. And then PPO, the much maligned PPO, everybody loves. So in its current state, it has known limitations. You can't partition it out by territory you're running. You can run it in all those territories, but you can't get the App Analytics-esque specific data for it. The big one, I think, is that builds block PPO. You're running it, and then your dev team says, I had a hotfix, and then you have 4 days of data. What do you do with that? It's kind of a bummer compared to experiments. But that doesn't mean it's useless. Don't write it off. You should think about running PPO and then setting up a new one right after that, and doing as many as you need. If it's every week you have a deployment, you can do maybe 3 weeks until you get some stat-sig data, aggregate it, see how it performs, and then compare that to the CPP data you get back. Steer clear of strategies that discourage testing. You want to test everywhere you can, every way you can. Each audience has their own journey. In this case, it'll be who's seeing you organically, which is not CPP ASA testing as much as you try to make a proxy. Excuse me. All right, so engagement, the evolution of the store, that all starts with events. I have had my Apple ID on my phone for the better part of a decade. I have apps I don't even know I have. When I'm looking at apps and I installed them in a forgotten time, it's going to look like Netflix here. So if I'm searching for streaming or whatever it might be, and I see Netflix, I'll go, oh, I remember I have Netflix. If I'm searching streaming and I see Hulu, I'll see this new content they have available, and I go, oh, I didn't know they had that. I'll give it a second look. I'm a current user, quote unquote, even though I'm technically lapsed, I just forgot I had it, or I may have uninstalled it. But either way, you're practically invisible in search results if you do not have an in-app event. So when you're thinking about 2023, think about what updates you're going to have. Think about anything seasonally relevant that would warrant an in-app event that you're going to be doing. Think about sales, especially for Google Play Live Ops, analogous feature with the offers they have. Plan that out. These things can run for up to 31 days at a time. Do one every month. And that way you'll be able to not only get those lapsed and current users and re-engage them, but you're going to keep competitors from taking market share. If you look at Disney Plus here, Apple TV, you're virtually guaranteeing that instead of Netflix, I'm going to try something else. And then you should also adapt when the opportunities arise. So make your marketing calendar for 2023. But just like Apple and Google have their curated content calendars for the Today tab and the front pages they have, they adapt too. Like back in 2020, the pandemic hits and suddenly the front page is all about meditation and mindfulness and baking sourdough bread and stuff like that. So make sure that you capitalize on what's current, but also have a plan so that in 2023, you're not invisible. This is an important one too. So there's some bearing on search suggestions that shows up from in-app events. So in-app events can show up in suggested searches based on the content that you put in the metadata there. So don't just have these in-app events and say, I got them, I'm good, I'm covered. Think about what core keywords you have, going back to the first few slides on the paid and organic supporting each other, using the right data. This is another thing that you can do to build overall clicks, which can help build overall relevancy, which helps you rank better for those core terms that you want. This specific one? Yeah. Yeah. I just, I didn't take it this morning or anything. Yeah. But yeah, this is an example of when it happened. And it's not going to be something that happens all the time and is like traditional organic ASO, where you target a keyword and then it takes 30 to 45 days to index, and then you make an update to it. Usually you want to take about 40% of that and see what's working and what's not. This one is something that's more opportunistic based on in-app events while they're happening, because yeah, this happened already. So, but if you get clicks for that, in this case for SEC football, which is more of a core, longer term, broad type of keyword to index for that has higher volume, this is a way you can focus on something more long tail, but still relevant for that, that gets you clicks, that shows up in search results, that supplements everything. Build your ASA campaigns and ad groups around this, build custom product pages around that. All of this goes together to be more engaging to users, lapsed or current. Typically, these show up more for current users and lapsed users. You can also get some new users, but showing up in search results with this and also saying, hey, check me out in search suggestions for those current and lapsed users, it's all about re-engagement. That's why Apple's doing this. So what happens if we don't do this? It's kind of like category ranking. Category ranking is just download volume and velocity, right? You can have the same exact, this is difficult to do, I suppose, same exact downloads every single day in your category. Your category ranking is going to move up or down based on what other apps are doing. So you're not going to get, you're going to get better or you're going to get worse, but you can't stay the same. As more competitors integrate this, your conversion rates, because you're not doing custom pages for the custom user segments that Apple and Google want you to do, which is why they built this stuff, you're going to convert lower, and converting lower means your rankings are going to go lower, and it means your CPI is going to go up. So look out. And then I'm not going to do a whole other, the Apple and Google features are largely similar. If you think about in-app events, it's similar to live ops with events and offers. For those lucky enough to be in the beta, and then as it's expanding, make sure you're ready for that and you do these things. Custom product pages, like custom store listings, it's just that you can do more of them. And even Google Play Experiments is changing because of these custom store listings. So you can do more than just 5 now, and you can fine tune it to specific audience segments, and you can even make custom URLs just like with CPPs using custom store listings. So experiments are going to be extremely more involved, and you can target more users in different ways. All of this being said, the foundational ASO and the research and philosophies behind it are needed to do these things, supporting with paid, whether it's in search or external, and then you build these things on top of it. And then there's other changes coming that are pretty important. So with the iOS App Store, running tests using the optional iPhone 14 displays doesn't show too much of a conversion uplift for now, but as more users get the iPhone 14, they're going to be extremely important to differentiate your app from your competitors. And just like I mentioned before, they're going to be doing it. If you're not doing it, you're going to fall behind. This is a big one too. Apple's expanding merchandising in their storefront. Across Q4, they've been adding additional language capabilities across different markets. So that is going to affect who you can reach in different geos, and having an understanding of that and how it affects your rankings and how it affects your conversion rates and paid and things like that, who you make your CPPs for, all of these things. There's some fundamental changes coming out to the App Store that way. And then for the Play Store, I'm sure everybody woke up one day, I think it was back in May, and the Google Play web view changed. They've been rolling this out for the mobile experience too. It's very visual, it's very feature graphic and video driven. And if you're not ready for this change, when Google flips the switch, like they typically do, like the suggestions at the top of search results for related keywords that they added years ago, they turned that on, they took it off, turned it on, turned it off, boom, it's on again. They typically change the store listing in this way. Google does A/B testing too. So if you don't prepare and treat your feature graphic as an afterthought because you don't have a video, because it doesn't show up, so who cares? One day you might wake up and have just a logo image with nothing. That's your main screenshot, and you can watch your conversion tank. So make sure that you're ready with a suite of feature graphics to test when this happens, because if you're not, going to get left in the dust. So that's pretty much it. The stores are evolving, and you need to evolve towards this engagement, personalization, customization, loyalty, like all of these things that happen, not just to increase your visibility and increase your downloads, but also how do you get a current user to open your app again? How do you get a lapsed user to come back? It's all about finding those different market segments, customizing towards them, knowing where you're targeting them and how you're speaking to them, and looking at the conversion rates and seeing how it did. So fundamentally, a lot of things for 2023 are going to be the same, but there's going to be different ways to get users that we couldn't do before. The organic fundamentals are going to be important for paid, and doing this is going to be important. If you're not doing it and not treating organic and paid like they go hand in hand, your CPIs are going to go up. So it's something that competitors are going to be doing, and you'll fall behind. The technology behind what you're doing fundamentally should drive the strategies that you're doing. Otherwise, hey, that's better. Yeah, everybody see now? Okay. But yeah, if you don't use the right tech from the get-go, you're going to come up with plans and strategies and think about audience segments, or only concentrate on like 5 keywords and not see results, because the store just doesn't work that way. That data doesn't matter for finding that information. And so if you do that and then build on top of that, it'll just all fall down. So don't want to do that. Get true mobile data and get insights, go with solid ASO tech, and have an adaptive strategy for the way the stores are evolving. And that's pretty much it. Just want to say thanks. And then our friends over at Airship have life after download over at 2 o'clock in the engagement center. So this is all leading up to getting discovered, how you can use paid and organic hand in hand, converting, re-engaging from the store and treating the store as a re-engagement channel. And then from there, after the download, those guys can kind of fill you in on what they're doing with that.